Hello, my squishies. We're gonna just sort of pause for a second to let everybody sign in and get themselves together. If somebody is hearing me, please say hello in the comments. If, like last time, I couldn't see the comments, if one of my lovely parents happens to be online and hearing this, they could possibly give me a wee message to check it's going live. But I think we should be good. I'm going to start rambling anyway, and I hope people can join us. In fact, why can't I see the... Oh, I can't see where my comments are. Well, fingers crossed that we can see comments. Anyway, right, I'm going to ramble. For those of you who have not joined us before, the basics of needle felting. And for those of you guys that have joined me before, say hi in the comments. And fingers crossed today we'll have a stream that actually works, as opposed to the last time where it gave up halfway through. But, okay, so basics of needle felting. So in your kit, you should have a nice foam mat. So they're going to felt onto this foam mat. This will protect your surfaces and makes it easier for felting. You've got the pre-felt. So this is what we're going to felt onto. This is this wool that's been slightly felted but is ready to be felted more. I've also drawn on for you the outline of where we're going today. And we've got our needle felting needles and needle holder. So the needles are these guys. Hopefully focus. Focus. So there's the sharp barbed end at one end that is sharp, so please try and avoid stabbing your fingers with it. And the hook at the other end. So you can use these just as they are. There's 3 in your set, or 5 depending. And you can use 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time. You can also use this. So this is a needle... I got distracted there. This is a needle holder. So to use this, you've got a little plug in this end. You pull this plug out, and then you've got a fatter end and a skinnier end. So you're putting the needle with the hook on the skinnier end there. And then you just pop that back in. So I'll do that one more time for you. So you pull out this little plug there, pop the needle in the groove, so the groove on one edge, with the hook over the skinny end, and then pop the skinny end back in. And then that gives you a little bit extra grip and can make it easier. Lots of people love using these. I don't tend to because I like to hold multiple at a time, though you can buy these that have 3 or 6 in them, and you can hold 3 or 6 needles in it in one go. Okay, then what else have we got? The most important thing, right, let's put these. Always count your needles in and out at the beginning of each felting session, and if you break one, make sure to find the tip and dispose of it safely. I tend to sort of wrap them up really well. Also in your kit you've got a bit of doweling that we're going to use to hang the picture with, and our colourful felt. So this felt is come off the sheep, it's been brushed, it's been washed, and it's been dyed, but nothing else has happened to it. And to work with this, we're going to pull little sections off at a time, and you're going to get really bored of how often I say tiny amounts. So we're going to pull off little sections at a time by having like that. And you'll see this is the length of the hair that was on the sheep. So you've got both ends there. So when you're pulling, if you have your hands too close together, it's not going to come apart. And if there's any twist in it, it's not going to come apart either. So you want to make sure it's flat and you have your hands nice and far apart and just gently pull, and it'll come out in tiny sections. So I'm not seeing any comments yet. I think I'm in the wrong feed. Because my parents are saying that I sound fine, but I can't see their comments in the Facebook thing. Not Facebook's the feed that I'm on. So I'm going to take just a second before we start on this magical felting journey to see if I can see your comments, because I want to chat to you guys. Where are they? Please amuse yourselves. Can I view it? This could go horribly wrong right now. And apologies if it does. Will I be able to watch my own comments? Oh, yay, I can see your comments. Excellent. Right. Perfect. I just need to make sure that I cannot hear myself. As long as you guys can still hear me. Hello. Hello, everybody. I can see you in the comments now. Oh, that makes me so much happier. Okay. Panic is averted. If I slow down, give me a shout. If you have any questions, shout it in the comments because I can see you now. Hello, everybody. Right. So let's get felting, guys. So today, oh, I haven't even said, today, I mean, I assume you can tell by the title, we are doing the Sea Eagle. And I'm super excited to do a Sea Eagle because they are a wonderful bird. But before I start telling you interesting facts about Sea Eagles, let's get ourselves set up. So in order to hang this, and I can now see myself in two different places, it's very confusing. My cheats way of hanging it is we're going to take some of this blue fluff and we're going to grab just little sections and lay it underneath the top here, like that. And we're going to do this first. And this is a bit that we're going to want to felt in really well, because this is going to be our magical hanging system. I'm going to move this down so you can see it. There we go. So I've laid that all along the bottom there. You don't have to completely fill it in just now. If you've got gaps, you can go back later on and fill them in. I'm going to pop the... Mum's just smiling at me in the comments. It's slightly disturbing. Pop the wooden dowel there and then fold over the rest of the blue. And then we're going to start stabbing. So when you're stabbing, you want to be going straight up and down. And you don't want to be bending the needle at all, because when you're bending the needle, like going in and bending, that's when you're going to get a broken needle. So we're going to felt these down. I'm going to go back later on and felt this down a lot better, but you'll see if you pick it up that it's also felting the back, so it's felting right the way through, and it is fixing your dowel into place. So that dowel's not going to go anywhere. And then all you need to do is hang it up on the wall. But that's step one. And if you have got gaps and things, don't worry about it. We'll pop back. Definitely Smurf hair. Oh, and for those of you watching after the fact and can't see the comments that were live, I will say random things and laugh at random comments. I apologise. I love my comments. Perfect. So we've got that blue there started for hanging up. And now, so I work quite fast to begin with, because we're not properly felting everything down at this stage. We're blocking in the colours to go back in afterwards and put in the detail and work on it once all the colours are blocked in. So it's like when you're painting, you block in the colours and then put the detail on afterwards. So just now we're lightly felting everything in case we want to move it and change it later. And then going back in afterwards. So I'm going to fill up all of this sky with this blue, this sky blue. And then, so I'm laying it on top of these bits as well. So that it's, and then felting on top again, so it's triply, doubly held in. But let's fill in this blue. I'm sort of vaguely following the line, but we can go under it. We're also going to work from back to front, which helps with the sort of layering. Okay, so I'm just really quickly stab all of this in. You can see I've gone over the lines and bits. It doesn't matter. And this is also going to be your interpretation of what this picture is, so you don't have to get it perfectly right. If you want to put stuff in different places, please do. There we go. Oop. We've got that in there. And what I will do at this point is, so every so often, because you're felting into this foam mat, every so often it's a good idea to pull it off of the mat so that it's not getting too stuck in. And this will stretch it. This felt's really stretchy and pull, especially at this stage, and it can pull really easily. So if it does go out of shape, you can just pull it, wiggle it, and then refelt it in. So don't worry about that. Oop. And if you lose your dowel, you can just pop it back in. Once this bit is felted a bit tighter, it'll stay in there. There we go. So we've got, when I'm holding the three together, I try and have them all sort of over my thumb and tension them that way, but sometimes they wiggle about. Okay, we've got our very rough sky, and we're going to pop down and start doing some of the, I'm going to do the sea now, I think. So we're going to grab this beautiful turquoise. Oh my god, I'm in love with this turquoise. Beautiful turquoise. And I'm going to fill in, so all this area here with the turquoise. It was really distracting. It's because I've had to open up actual YouTube to see the comments. There's a slight delay, so I'm seeing myself from about 2 minutes ago, a minute ago, in that video, and current me in the other screen, and I'm very confused sometimes as to what I'm doing. Or that could just be my general state. So I'm going to, in this instance, go right up to the sky, and then we're going to put the little hill that's going to be there in the distance on top of this, because that's the lovely thing about felting, is that you can layer up. And here I'm actually going to, so I've been laying down everything horizontally. So for this little bit here where it's sort of coming onto the shore, I'm actually going to get it to follow where the actual line of the shore might, the sort of the direction the water might be going in, if that, does that make sense? Am I rambling nonsense? Somebody in the comments tell me how much nonsense I'm rambling. Because when I sell these in the shop, I always warn people that although we have this lovely hour-long video of me telling you how to do everything, I ramble utter nonsense for that hour. So they are more than welcome to mute me, fast forward, and do whatever you like. You do not have to listen to me. Well, my parents have to listen to me, but that's fine. You know, you don't have to listen to me for the whole hour, unless you're my parents, and then you must. I'm sorry. There we go. So I've got that lovely blue in there, and we're going to, I think I want it to go a little bit further around. go. But we can go over, and the really nice thing about felting, for those of you who haven't felted before, is that you can, at this stage especially, just completely pick it up and move it, because it's only loosely held in just now. We go over afterwards and give it a proper felting. There we go. And I'm going to pop in a little bit of the dark and light right now, just to, so I would leave this till later normally. So I'm going to grab this darker turquoisey, dark blue. I just love this colour as well. And starting from far away, so this is now where I'm going to start saying tiny amounts. So if anybody wants to come up with some different words for tiny this month, tiny amounts, and I'm going to open it up and spread it out, and then just lay it down horizontally again, so that it's in the distance, and then fading in, so that you can see how little I'm putting in. You can always add more afterwards or take some away, but this is just blocking in colour. I'm going to put a solid stripe there, because that gives us a nice horizontal horizon line to work off. Now you don't have to, so I have in this one got a little hill in the distance, but you don't have to put that there. You can just, I might even, ooh, am I going to change it up live on camera? Maybe. Leave it as that sort of colour there and fade it in a little bit. If you are worried, so when you're putting in colour like this, if you think you've gone a little bit too dark, but you still like it, you can take a little bit of the lighter blue and lay that on top, because that'll lighten up a little bit but still give you bits of darkness. That's the joy about needle felting, is the layering, and you can really make some depth. There we go. So we've got a roughed in bit of sea, and now we're going to go for the sand. So we've got this sandy colour. So you've got two quite similar colours in your pack for this one. We've got a sandy colour and a fluffy white. So we're going to leave the fluffy white and we're going to go for the sandy colour. I'm going to fill in this area here. Hiccup. Oh, I've got a cup of tea sitting next to me. Please somebody remind me to drink it before it goes cold. I'm going to fill in, so shaping this around. I'm going to fill in this sand right up to the edge of the water and then felt it in. So you can see how I'm sort of zooming it round. Some might say I should have put the sand under the water and the water on top, but I'm going to join up, I'm going to cover over this joining line anyway in a minute, so you won't know which one went down first. Now with the edges, I love leaving it fluffy and just the way they are and not caring about them. You don't have to, you can cut them so they're square. It does look really nice if you do that. So once it's all finished being felted, you can cut your edges square and make it all tidy, or you can leave them just natural and part of the scene for a sort of slightly wilder edging. And I personally like that, but it's your felt, you're in charge. It is entirely up. You could tidy them up, you could be a hairdresser and like trim them nicely. It is totally up to you guys. Okay, so we've got a base of, I'm very squinty, sorry. I'm not looking at what I'm doing. We've got a base of this sand, and now I'm going to take, it's a mess over here already. the dark sand, this caramel colour. Let's go for caramel colour. I'm just going to take a tiny bit and lay it around the edge where the sand meets the water. So what this does is it makes it look, because you know when sand gets wet it goes darker generally. This gives it the impression that the tide's sort of lapping and leaving wet patches. And you can pull tiny, like look, can you even see how little I have there? Tiny amounts, and spread it out over the whole beach, and that'll give it some little shadows and little sort of texture. Because the sand's not going to be perfectly the same colour everywhere. There's going to be dark patches and light patches. And again, it might seem like I'm moving quite fast just now, but I'm going to go back over all of this again and add in more detail and more layers. So this is just quickly getting the colours down, don't think about it too much is what I'm trying to say at this moment. So we've done our inner, and we're going to do an outer dark patch as well, because that's going to give us some shadow, as if when we put the sort of shrubby hill in, that's going to give us the effect of a little bit of shadow coming down from the plants. So they're not just sitting on top with no sort of frame of reference. If you think you've gone too dark, you can always again add a little bit of light on top or take some off. You've got two different options. I like adding on top because it builds up the depth. And don't worry if this looks a bit odd just now. It will all come together. Do not worry. Everyone's been very quiet in the comments. Hello? And you have, well, actually, to be fair, you have not heard my Seagull Facts yet. Wait until you get to the Seagull Facts. Okay, so we've blocked in this, and then we're just going to cover over this join with our fluffy white. So this fluffy white, so, oh, I did not say this earlier. So this stuff, the sort of really smooth stuff, is called either roving or tops. It's really smooth, it's a commercial product, it's really good, used for spinning and felting and all that jazz. And the fluffier stuff, you can tell it's slightly more textured, is called Slivers. So it's not brushed quite as well. It's not like with these, they'll all be sort of fairly uniform length fibres. These can be sort of different lengths. This produces a really lovely textured yarn, or you can see all these little neat bits in there. Make lovely texture for waves. So I'm going to take a little bit of this and just pop it, covering the join between. Oh, look at that already. Oh, I don't know if you can see it as well on camera as I can see it here, because that just makes that little sea foam join absolutely perfectly. All the little textures bits. So we've got one line going over the edge, but we're going to add a couple of little waves in as well. I'm going to grab a little bit more and place it maybe like a centimetre back from where the last one was, and just have one little one going round there. Hopefully you can see on video what I'm doing. I'm going to grab another one, have it going round back there. So it's not going to join up, it's just going to come round. You can add in a few of these just to make some little textured waves, and they really just pull it in. I might even put a little bit more joining there. There we go. So that's your sort of sea foamy texture with little waves. Hopefully as soon as you pop in those waves, it all suddenly starts to make sense for the sea. I love that little bit. Okay, so we've roughed in the sea. There's still definitely space to work on that, but we're now going to work on this hill. So with the hill, we've got a few different greens, so we're going to mix them up. We've got a very dark, a middly, and then I call this an olive green. So right at the edge where it joins, I'm going to take the darkest green again to sort of make an almost shadow. I'm going to pop that just going round the edge there. So we're building up colours on this, and we're gonna. So far we've been laying down everything flat, and now I want to start us getting some texture and some scrumfling, being the technical term. So I'm going to take the middly green, which is going to be used as a base for all of this, and kind of scrumfle it up a little bit. So, and then pop it down there. So it doesn't matter if you go over this dark bit, does not matter at all. Two little scrumfles. And I'm going to stop with a little bit of a gap up there, because we're going to go for lighter for the top of the hill. I'm going to take a little bit of the lighter colour again. So this is the olive one, and scrumfle and lay it down. Kind of let it dictate its own shape, to be honest. Your hill can be any shape you like. If you have a specific hill in mind or an island in mind you like, go for it. For this one, I've actually based this on, oh, hiccup, Mull. So this is I don't actually know the name of the beach, but this is a beach on Mull. I'll be visiting Mull on Monday, and I'm very excited to go and see it. And Mull has quite a few sea eagles as well. I feel like now is the time for, or almost the time for seagull facts. Okay, so I've got very basic hill here. We're going to do a lot more work on this. But we've gone a dark border around there, middly green there, and the lighter green on top. But now we're going to add in lights and darks again. So we're going to take a little bit of the darkest green, scrumfle and pull apart and lay it over. Just let it go over the whole section. So we've got little dark spots everywhere. You can even pull it up here to blend the gap a little bit. And I'm going to put in a good amount at the point there. And I'm going to take some of the lightest. Now this is super lightly felted in. The lightest one. Oh, I'm going to quickly check because I haven't seen any comments coming up. Oh, parents aren't saying they haven't commented. There you go. So we've got the lightest or the olive green. And again, tiny amounts. I'm going to just pull that into tiny scrumfles. And scrumfle it over there. It will look like a mess just now. Do not worry. For those of you guys that have felted with me before, you know this stage. This stage is the mess stage. And it'll look like what on earth am I doing? How is this ever going to look like a picture? And then suddenly it will all come together and you will think it's a masterpiece. So we know this. So just now if it looks like a mess, it's supposed to. This is the mess part. But I'm liking that hill so far. It's starting to get there. I can see it's a mess, but the more I felt it and the more I add little pops of colour, it'll all come together. I've got a little messy thing going on here. I don't know what that is. There we go. So if you want to, you can put an island back here. Now I did in the original, but I think I'm actually going to leave it and just have that dark blue line that gives the sort of impression that there could be an island there, or it could just be the horizon. Oh, now I'm going to leave that. Questions. I have questions for myself. Do I want that to come level, or do I like it higher? I think I like it higher. I might even make it a little bit more higher. Give it the impression of the sea going off into the distance and there's just a little bit of land jutting out. Okay, so for the next 2 minutes, before we pop in our eagles, I'm gonna just do an all over felt and fiddle any little bits that I think need a little bit of touching up once it's had a good all over felt. I'm gonna work especially on, ooh, ooh, violence, sorry. How could I forget the sky? We need some clouds, some texture in the sky. Just a hint of colour, not colour, cloud. I'm going to take the white slivers, pull a tiny, tiny amount of that, and then make it even tinier, and really open it up and lay it down. So open it totally up and lay it down and felt it down. This just gives, I think, the most wonderful, wispy, cloudy, but still like one of those sunny days where there's just little bits of cloud, but it's not going to rain. Which, well, we had those days last week, although the rain has now come. We have had those days. So I've got my eye, I'm so squinty. Whoop, there we go. You also can't see the picture that I'm working on. I'm hiding it today. It's a mystery. There we go. So we've got our clouds. And again, it looks different in real life than it does on your screens. But now is a very good point. I have not done this in a while. I'm going to pull up all of the backing, and it is going to stretch it in a little ways, and I've just got to readjust that, but you can see all of the lovely felting that's going on the back. And every so often it's a really good idea, oh yes, look at that, to hold up your picture and look at it straight on as you would a picture on the wall. Or if you're not sure about it, to take a photograph of it, have a look at it in a mirror, so you're not looking straight at it, and sometimes then it pops out as to what you might want to change, what you love about it. And we are, oh, I should premise, we are, Mum said, another holiday. No, it's not a holiday, it's a work trip. I'm going across to Iona to pick up some wool. I'm getting Iona wool in the shop, which is incredibly exciting. So it's only from sheep on Iona. So I've decided for the first time I'm going to pop across to Iona and pick it up myself. So it's a working trip / a holiday. Driving from Fort William to Iona and back in one day. It'll be fine. Nobody's panicking. As long as we can make all the ferries, or we're staying on Mull overnight. There we go. So, where was I? I got distracted by my Iona holiday. I'm reasonably happy with the landscape. I think there's definitely going to be some work I'm going to do on it, but in order to get completeness, we're going to pop in our eagles now. These lovely sea eagles. So sea eagles, hold on while I get my Seagull Facts up, are birds. So their wingspan can be 2 to sort of 2.5 meters long. These are massive birds. They're the biggest birds, I think, in the UK. Their length is only less than a metre, so they're wanting to be definitely longer than shorter. I remember someone once told me they look like flying barn doors, so they're fairly square and they might have little feathery wingtips on the ends. But they've also got white heads and white triangular tails. So this is the sort of key sea eagle facts. And despite their size, so like 2 meters by a meter, they only weigh between sort of 3.5 and 7 kilograms, which is super light considering the size. So we're going to pop in 2 of these up in the sky. So I'm going to start with the darkest brown to make their shape, and then we're going to put highlights on and their tails and heads. So you can place your sea eagles anywhere you like. I'm going to make them sort of flying. Let's take a little bit. Oh, I've lost your comments again. Hold on. I brought up the... Oh, Jennifer, I know it is. I'm so excited for this kind of work trip. It's perks of the job, shall we say. Maybe I'll even get a photo next to one of the sheep with the wool that it made. That would be quite fun. So I'm going to take a tiny sliver of, well, this is actually not too tiny, a small slither of the brown, and I'm going to fold it to make sort of roughly the size I want the wingspan to be, and very tentatively put it in. So that's about the length of my thumb, and maybe a little bit shorter. And then we're going to do the same for the second eagle. So we're roughing them in to get their position and see if we want to move them about. So again, I'm going to put this one going up that way. I think that kind of... So I was working at a restaurant on Skye one day, looking out across Broadford Bay, and these 2 sea eagles were just spiralling round each other for about maybe 10 minutes, and we just all in the restaurant just stood and watched them. It was amazing. So this is my take on that sort of spiraling sea eagles. They were just so massive, like, until you see, you just don't believe how big these birds are. So I'm fairly happy. So that's about, yeah, just under a thumb length, and maybe centimetre wide to make the 2. So you can have them going any way you like, but I like them going in that V formation there, as if they're spiraling around each other. So we've got the basis. So we're going to now take the lighter brown once I've had a sip of tea. Hold on 1 second. Oh, that's better. Cold, but better. We're going to take the lighter brown and put some highlights and texture on their back, so we can scrumple this up a little bit and lay it. So I'm aiming for the top half, but not too especially worried about it. I'm putting just that tiny amount of, like such a tiny amount of the lightest, the brown. So that we've got the sort of impression of the light hitting the back of their wings, so almost iridescent, and any pattern that might be on the wings. I'm then going to destroy everything and take a little bit more of the darkest brown, scrumple that up into a tiny ball. I hiccup quite a lot of times. So almost, oh, that's not a good shape. So it's like a little line almost. And I'm going to take that and place it, I want to say like a butterfly, going down the middle and then down a little bit off the end. So I'm starting to make a tail. I'm going to put white on top of it, but I want to have a little bit of darkness. Splitting the wings in half so it gives an impression of a body, and down where the tail is going to be. I'm going to do the same for the other one. So take a tiny bit of the darkest brown, scrumple it up into a little line, and then lay that halfway so it gives a small impression of a tail and a darkness to the body. You can see immediately that tail, you think that is a bird in the sky? Yeah, I'm gonna take that. So now we need to get the head and the tail. So I'm not going to use the white, I'm actually going to use the cream, because they aren't sort of pure white, they've got a little bit of colour to them. I'm going to take a tiny amount, scrumple, the technical term, and scrumple it into a tiny ball. Just, whoop, you can see how tiny that ball is. Hopefully you can see that there. And pop that for the head. And again, I'm going to do the head on the other one. So a tiny. What are my... I was about to say, what are my euphemisms for tiny? What are my other words for tiny? And lay that on the other ones. They're kind of flying into each other. Who knows what's going on? And again, we're going to do the same to the tail, because they have white heads and white tails. And so we're aiming vaguely-ish, kind of, fingers crossed, for a sort of slightly stubby triangle shape. But because this is quite small, as long as it's a smallish circle, I don't think I'm not worried if it's not perfect. There we go. So we have one tiny triangle tail. And now we need second tiny triangle tail. But I mean, these sea eagles could be take a titsy amount, thank you mum, and scrumple it up. But yeah, so these sea eagles can be doing anything with their tails. They're not necessarily going to be triangular at the time of when you looked at them and saw this happening, because based on real life this is I'm going to put a little bit more white on that tail. That was a little bit small. Okay, so now we have two vague sea eagles. I'm really happy with that actually. Let's have a look. I'm really happy with that. The nice thing about the sort of their heads and tails both being white is that, I mean, they could be flying either way. Who knows? Make it up in your own head. Okay, so I'm going to go over them, just felting all over and seeing what changes as I felt over them all, and then I'm going to work over the top again, because when you felt something in, like already I can see this wings are starting to shorten and I don't like how short they're becoming, so I'm going to extend the wings a little bit, because when you're felting it in like this, you're stabbing bits through and it will change shapes. Sometimes amazingly for the better, and you're like, oh genius, I meant to do that. Sometimes it'll go a little bit shorter and it's not quite what you wanted. So, and sometimes, especially with tiny bits like this, they just disappear through and you have to redo them. But and I'm going to work a little bit more on the hill and the sea, because we've still got 15 minutes left. Oh my god, we're flying tonight. Woo. And pull it off, because remember, pulling it off will change its shape a little bit. let's hold that up again. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of length onto this guy's wing because I feel like they're starting to look less majestic than they should be. So a titsy bit. That's it. It's starting to look a bit squatter than long, but these should really look long, like amazingly long. You would not believe how mind-bogglingly long they are. To quote Forward Prefect, if anybody gets that reference. I'm going to add in some more of the brown at the end as well, just to make it. In fact, I want both. Now that I've made one longer, I'm going to make the other side longer. There's a sea eagle exhibition up in Portree on the Isle of Skye that I visited a couple of times in the Eros Centre. And they have the wingspan on its side, so you can compare it to your height. And that wingspan, like the wingspan of a sea eagle, is taller than me, which is crazy. I'm going to leave this one smaller because I want that eagle to look like it's a little bit in the distance. So I'm going to try. So you can see here, I'm going in at a slight angle, and that's actually pushing the fibres. So I'm still going straight, but I'm going in at an angle, and that's narrowing up that wing so it looks like it's a little bit in the distance compared to this guy. I'm now going to go over again with a little bit of the lighter brown. Give it some texture and pattern, so it doesn't have to be perfect because there's going to be like lighter feathers and darker feathers. I'm going to add to where I extended it there. Even on this one it needs a little bit more. There we go. I feel like the head's a little bit big. Let's make the head a little bit smaller. There we go, that's better. I'll give that a good wee stabbing. So I try not to cut my fibres, but if you've got like little bits of dark fluffing up everywhere, you can just take scissors and chop them off and neaten them up. I tend to try and like fold them in and keep concentrating, keep them there. But there, oh, his wing is looking wonky on camera. Nobody's wings are perfect. Cool. Right, let's work a little bit on this hill. I want to put in, I'll come back to the eagles in a minute, but I want to put in some more, layer up the greens, what I'm going to try and do for this hill, to give it loads of texture. So it doesn't look like it's all just one bit of hillside. We want to pop in, we could pop in tiny sort of bushy things. Oh, pardon me, I'm still hiccuping. Pop in some bushes. In the dark. And when you scrumple them and pop them in like that, it just gives such a lovely texture. Have I mentioned that you can mute me? Like, feel free at any point. You can also rewind slow me down, speed me up. I am not in the slightest bit offended. So in the, if we were, so I think Mull, is Mull in the Hebrides? Question. But in the Hebrides, this area sort of between the, that just comes up to the beach where it's like the smooth grassy stuff, is the macher. And will sometimes have loads of little white flowers on it. So if you want to pop in little bits of white flower or yellow flower or any colour flowers you want, feel free. I'm also going to break up this. I know it's a really smooth, nice smooth line, but I kind of want to break that up a little bit and put in little splotches of maybe grasses coming round and down. So it's not perfectly smooth curve, because you'll have little patches of dunes and stuff. In different colours as well. That just breaks up that edge a wee bit, and you can, there we go, that's nice. Oh, I like that. That makes me happy. I'm going to put in a little bit more of, what's going on? Stop trying to escape. There we go. Put in some more patches of this darker bit going round the grasses. And if you want, am I going to do it? I might do it. Let's see if we like it or not. You can take some of the thank you that you enjoy my chat. And yes, so Inner Hebrides. So I'm guessing it would still be Macher even in the Inner Hebrides. If it is Macher, it might not necessarily be. It's a very specific type of grassland that goes on to the sea. It's beautiful stuff. But I'm going to take a little bit of this dark brown. Tentatively, I reserve the right to change my mind and pull it off again and go nope. And I'm going to add in just little bits. Oh, so as if there's like some kind of flotsam or no jetsam. No, jetsams come. Ooh, I always have Google at my fingertips. The stuff that's washed up. I can't remember if that's flotsam or jetsam. There is a technical term. And give little pockets. Oh yeah, I like that. Give little pockets of even darker texture. I'm going to do that around the base of these green bits as well to make it look like there's a little bit of maybe soil eroded from like some storms and stuff, and just give it some depth. But yeah, that's just, I'm going to take a sip of coffee or tea. There we go. Is there anything I've forgotten? You can even put some browns in the hillside, give them a wee scrumful, because there will be patches of it. Just giving it the more depth and the more intricacy, even if you don't necessarily know what it means in your head, people can interpret it as they like. Oh, squinty. Okay, here we go. So for the next 5 minutes I'm going to go over the whole area, everything, and give it a good felting down. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to say this is not a finished picture. I recommend that you stop now when I stop and give your eyes and your brain a break from it. Give it a day or two and then come back in a day or two. Have a look at it. see what you love about it, see anything you might like to change, and give it a good, oh, that's a workout for the arms, give it a good felting all over, making sure you felt really well up here. I'm actually going to add in, excuse me, a little bit more horizontal here. Yeah, so up this area here, you want to make sure it's really well felt, like felt it more than you think you should be felting it. This top little line here, so that it doesn't come undone. I actually cheat ever so slightly because I have a have I told you about my new favourite purchase? I have a needle felting machine that has 12 of these bad boy needles, and it's like a sewing machine, but instead of sewing machine needle, it's got 12 needle felting needles, and it just, oh my god, the speed that thing felts at. So I give this a little run along there to properly secure in all those ends. But with the amount of stuff you've got going over there, you'll be fine. So, question. My horizon line, do I want it to be a little bit higher? Or do I want it to pull straight across from there? Still not decided yet, to be honest. There we go. When it goes around it, that's better. I'm happy with that. So your horizon line here, you can put hills on it. So in my original one, I've put a little island there. I've done, oh, I really like this though. It's not too late to change. But so I've done a little line of white, the slivers, and then a green line just behind it to give the impression of another island in the distance. Oh, we've got a few minutes. Let's do it. It's quick. Let's do it. I'm going to add a little line of white. That's just the surf breaking on the island. I'm going to take the lightest green because this is in the distance, so it's going to be lighter, and add in. Now if I don't like this, I will just take it back and pull it off, because especially at this stage it's not very well felted in. No, I like that too much. I'm leaving that in. Feel free to pop this in or not pop this in. It's your island. So I like that little V that goes around there, and it just sort of gives a really nice perspective-y, distance-y. I've lost track of the words I'm trying to say. I'm going to take a tiny bit of the mid-green and put that on the lower edge of the island, just a tiny bit, to give it a little bit of depth. But I'm not putting any of the dark in. I want that to seem sort of lighter and in the distance. Cool. Right. My squishies. Have we got seagulls? I think we have seagulls. Is there anything anybody wants me to hiccup? Is there anything anybody wants me to go over? Anything I've gone too fast? But I'm super happy with, I think, the way it's turned out. So I am, as I said, I'm going to come back in a couple of days with fresh eyes and have another look at it, fill in any bits that I think need filled in. Might do a little bit more texturing in this island. But yeah, I think we have Sea Eagle Island. Maybe Mull Island. thank you for joining me on this squishy journey. Oh yes, I've got to do the thing. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell icon, comment down below, all of the usual YouTubey things. I also have a Facebook group that's linked in the description where we chat about felting, and I love it when you guys show me your finished felts. I'm so proud of all of you. I do not have words to express it. I'd love to see them popped in the Facebook group. I'm gonna go home. Yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna go to Iona and mull on Monday, which should be good. You might see on my Instagrammy, Facebooky on Monday or Tuesday, or maybe in 3 weeks when I remember to post it, some pictures of me with sheep and then their own wool. And I'm so excited for this, to get some really local wool. But awesome, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. You are always my squishies. Have a lovely night. Right, how do I've got too many tabs open. How do